participants from ministries, departments, and agencies, professionals, and members of the Young Innovators Association. It is indeed a privilege to be with you this morning to contribute to this discourse on harnessing technology for enhanced energy transition and ensuring energy and maritime security in Nigeria. And I'll be addressing this as a sub-theme of the overall theme of this stakeholders engagement, which focuses on harnessing the Petroleum Industry Act as a catalyst for investment. Already, the keynote address has addressed most of the technical aspects of this discourse, and in keeping in line with the time available, I am going to skip most of what I have to say. But I would like to reiterate that, to my mind, the Petroleum Industry Act simply aims to encourage investment by streamlining the regulatory environment and incentivizing investment in the oil and gas sector. And the details of the objectives as outlined clearly says how this is to be achieved. When we talk about oil and gas, the reality of Nigeria is that most of what we know is found in the maritime sector. The production facilities upstream, the transportation and handling facilities midstream, even a lot of the refining and distribution facilities are in the maritime environment. And what it shows clearly is that security is a key aspect of it, and it is fitting that this seminar or stakeholders engagement has considered security as a key aspect. I would like to highlight that in terms of energy transition and security, renewable energy is something that is very closely associated with the blue ocean economy in the maritime environment. In the maritime environment, we have energy from tidal power. We have energy from winds because of the ozone space that is available. And we have energy from waves due to the movement of water. So all of these are contributions that can be easily optimized in the maritime environment. I will concentrate on maritime security. The keynote speaker made a poser that why is it possible for a large crude carrier to enter Nigeria, take crude and leave without detection? I would like to say clearly that that is impossible today. For quite some time, the Nigerian Navy has had the regional maritime awareness capability that enables her to understand and be aware of everything that is happening in the entire exclusive economic zone of Nigeria. And this maritime domain awareness capability has been enhanced with the introduction of the Falcon Eye, which was commissioned by then President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, SAN. With these facilities, even small boats that come and leave our waters are easily detected, and we are aware. These facilities combine a number of technological innovations like radar, like high-frequency radio, like the automatic identification system, and advanced data analytics made possible by the advancements in Internet of Things and artificial intelligence to not only provide information about the presence of various platforms or entities in the maritime environment, but also go to provide intelligence on their intentions and their activities. And I'm aware also that the NNPC has developed its own center for the monitoring and awareness of activities in its pipeline. So actually, what is happening in the environment is known. But as we discuss, we'll come to a common understanding of why we still have this problem. Technology is very critical to the success of surveillance aimed at achieving maritime or having a comprehensive picture of the resources and happenings within the maritime domain. This knowledge helps the formulation of policies and timely response to security threats within the maritime domain. Technologies for maritime domain awareness has evolved over the years. Some of these technologies used include radar, which helps you to use radio waves for detection of all metal objects on the water surface, satellite imagery, sonar, which is the equivalent of radar under the water. It uses sound for detection of objects that are under the water, unmanned aerial vehicles, automatic identification system, infrared and electro-optical systems. So any object that emits thermal energy can be detected. And there are systems that have cameras that can even provide video coverage of activities. And the Nigerian Navy Falcon Eye system has the capacity to provide not just data, but the image, video image of everything happening within 30 nautical miles of Nigeria's coastline. These systems, when combined with artificial intelligence, provides information about the presence of platforms as well as predicts the purposes of these entities in our maritime domain. The Nigerian Navy uses the Sea Vision. It is an American system that helps to detect the presence of vessels in our environment, as well as the Falcon Eye, which is an Israeli system. The Falcon Eye is a more advanced system and covers up to the limits of Nigeria's exclusive economic zone, while providing video pictures of activities within 30 nautical miles of the country's coastline. It is integrated with intelligence databases, which enables it to know the character of vessels entering Nigeria's maritime space. The maritime domain awareness capabilities of the Nigerian Navy have greatly enhanced its capacity to safeguard the nation's critical offshore assets, as well as facilitated its cooperation with sub-regional and regional navies for maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea region. One of the things with maritime security is that it is not contained within national boundaries. A lot of the problems that we have originate from outside our territorial waters or terminates here. And so cooperation with other services and governments are very, very crucial. And it is these technologies that help us to be aware and to share information for maritime security in Nigeria. One thing about the systems is that while they are very, very useful, acquiring them and maintaining them is expensive because we are not the makers of this technology. And that point has been aptly made by Engineer Busari. Another challenge with these systems is that they are highly integrated and digitized, well-based. So they are subject to remote capture and disruptions. They are subject to cybersecurity attacks. And in the event of conflict with provider nations, it is not unlikely that they could sabotage or trade your interests with those of your adversaries. I would like to talk about the need for partnerships. Financing has been identified as one of the critical weak points in the implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act. And clearly, it is inconceivable that government will have enough financing to undertake all that is required for the implementation and attainment of the objectives. Recognizing this, it is important that the appropriate framework is established for private sector investments and financing. And in this respect, I would like to highlight a model that the Nigerian Navy currently uses in the area of maritime security. Those that are operating in the upstream and even in the downstream are aware that most of the activities are covered by private maritime security companies that are in understanding with the Nigerian Navy. And the terms of the partnership is that these private companies provide the platforms and logistics for the deployment of these vessels, while the armed escorts are provided by the Navy. And this arrangement has been very, very helpful in extending the reach of the Navy to dominate the length and breadth of our territorial waters. And I believe that in the areas where huge capitals are needed, like investment in solar panels, investment in batteries or storage systems, investment in turbines, very, very expensive and technologically advanced investments, a stable and recognizable environment will facilitate the inflow of private financing and investments that will leapfrog the developments, our energy transition, as well as energy security. Finally, I will also recommend that the government sets a fund, just like we have identified for other areas, for private investors seeking to undertake development in renewable energy, for them to access single-digit low-interest funds, as well as tax holidays, so that the technologies for renewable energy can be mainstreamed and adoption on a mass basis can be embraced by the generality of Nigerians. I thank you all, and I look forward to elaborating on some of these points that I have touched on during the interactive section. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Riyad Maradaji. That was very insightful, honestly. And I see that you've actually set a standard for us to I hear artificial intelligence, I hear sonar, I hear all kinds of technology that we're using. So my first question will go to Dr. Shehu, who is representing the Executive Secretary of the PCDF. What are the current technological trends in this industry that can be applied here in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. I think a point raised by the speaker in terms of sabotage. Let me give an example. There was a time we were designing a deep water asset, and actually one of the engineers raised a question. This asset is not owned by country A. What in terms of sabotage, if there is a war, how can we control a lot of the technologies within the floating system? And we all kept quiet because nobody thought of there will be a war and country B might decide to sabotage country A. If you look at a lot of our design today in Nigeria, it's been either fabricated design outside the country without, in some instance, without any sort of local content involvement. And we have some companies coming in with technologies, so-called patent, that they don't even want our engineers to be aware of. What is being brought into the oil industry here in Nigeria is really dangerous, sorry to say. We need to build in-house capabilities There are a lot of technologies outside. When you look at, let me basically say, offshore floating system, we have a lot of units, computers that will control risers, bulbs, and flow lines. If you look at, I think a few weeks back, the Israel-Hamas issue, where a lot of walkie-talkie and
Pagers.
a lot of issues. So it's a similar kind of issue where I can easily sit at the comfort of my house in Europe and then decide to open 10 bulbs in Egina in Nigeria and overflow them. And the countries who can dictate this because it's not being designed by Nigerians. I don't even think the regulators actually monitor some of these bulbs and how some of these bulbs are being opened and closed. So the industry is really, really a kind of dangerous space in terms of war. The designers may tend to sabotage some of these bulbs. You can easily close 2 bulbs, shut down 1 bulb, and you tend to have high kind of a pressure that can blow the whole floating system or the fixed system. So we need to train our engineers in terms of technology, and some of the software's design needs to be within Nigeria. Sorry to say, in-house capabilities is very important. Today, we have a lot of enemies that are hidden that people can easily sabotage ITs and technology kind of a provision. So I don't even think the internet we use offshore is fully kind of a Nigerian secured broadband. So it's as easy as, like I said, a single fellow can decide to shut down the whole deep sea operation today in Nigeria. So these are some of the main security areas I think the regulators need to look into on how best can we secure our asset, because these are national assets actually. Thank you.
I think I like the angle you came from, that, yeah, there are technology available out there, but they're not ours. Ray Admiral, what is your take on this?
I think what he has said is the appropriate thing to do. And the work done by the Petroleum Trust Development Fund would be enhanced with the setting up of local research institutes and closing of ranks. I think one of the major problems that we have is harnessing the resources available. The resources are available locally, but where are they? How do we integrate them? How do we synergize to achieve the common objective? NICDA is working, the young innovators are working, there are various technology hubs and all of that. So what challenge or national objectives have been assigned to these disparate groups to achieve? But it is a very, very real threat. It's not to scare anybody, but the reality is that there are a lot of things we depend on, but they are our soft underbellies. Like we have witnessed in the recent past days on change of the core software in the banking industry. Nobody can do a transaction.
Yeah.
So unless we come to the point of realizing these threats and indigenizing these technologies, or insisting at a minimum involvement of our own experts in the conceptualization and design and implementation, we will just be sitting ducks for manipulation and sabotage.
Thank you. Engineer, Engineer Sambari. Yeah, so this falls under compliance and regulatory issues here, especially as we're looking at transition. I mean, we're following the world in shouting this transition to cleaner energies. How crucial is what they have said to Nigeria being sustainably independent as we transit to cleaner energy away from fossil fuel?
Okay, thank you very much. But first, I think we need to put some contextual clarification. There is no global consensus now as regards the developed countries and the developing countries of the critical elements of this energy transition. While Europe and most of developing countries are pushing for this energy transition, particularly within the context of their own energy security.
Exactly.
Because they do not want to depend on other countries for their energy. Now, we have to be careful not to be railroaded, not to be cajoled or intimidated into getting this conversation of energy transition hook, line, and sinker. Now, the second point that is important to us as a country, and most of Africa indeed, and developing countries, even though the world is moving towards energy transition, we have to do it in a sustainable, responsible manner. You cannot leave what you have to now go and get what you don't have. So you are even going to compound your own problem. We have oil and gas in abundance. We can sustainably and responsibly harness it. At the same time, we can also develop renewables because we also have sunlight in abundance. We have wind in the coastal areas, which we can harness. But what is most important is that while we are doing this, we have to make sure that we are using indigenous technology. It does not make sense that we are transiting from oil and gas, where the oil rigs are produced outside the country, and then we now import solar panels from China, or we import wind turbines from Norway. Then really we are not transiting to anywhere. We are deepening our dependence on external technologies, for our own energy needs. So what we need to do is to strengthen our research institutes. I know our universities have a lot of programs and research institutes that have developed homegrown, scalable technologies that all we need to do is to set up cottage industries, is to set up small and medium enterprises, which we can grow and scale up through economics of scale, through continued patronage. Once we are able to do that, you will see that we will be able to decentralize most of these things. One of the challenges, again, we have in Nigeria is the tendency to have one big solution that fits all. Like, for instance, national grid. Why do we need a national grid in Nigeria? Anytime the national grid is down, the entire country is in darkness. Why can't we decentralize it? Why can't we have 4 or 5 or 6 or even more mini grids that are integrated, maybe some parallel connection, so that if one aspect of the grid has problem, you isolate it and deal with that cluster, while the rest of the country will have light. So these are some of the conceptual frameworks and challenges that we need to deal with. Then on regulation, we need to also be ahead of the curve. As all our regulatory entities need to have a central coordinating point. And I think the ministry need to play that role very effectively. Because when you have multiple regulators, who regulate the regulators? That becomes also an issue of concern. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I really appreciate the angle you came in from. And virtually every speaker here is agreed on the fact that our solutions have to be homegrown. And Doctor, please don't be sorry for saying that we need to have homegrown solutions. Nigeria is a sovereign, and I think we have the brain power, the human resource that can stand on our own, and we can compete with any of our IX anywhere in the world. We have your type here, we have Admiral here, we have Engineer here. I don't think anyone in Europe is better than the three of you on this platform. So we can. And so that takes me down to the engineer mentioned something very critical. And a couple of days ago, on a lighter note, someone was saying, oh, I'm on band A, and band A is now taking me bondage. And then I asked the question, now that you have band A, what are you doing with it? And then he said, what do you mean? I said, well, what that means now, and that's going to what the engineer mentioned, is that we can have cottage industries. So you can generate money from the use of electricity. You can have cottage industries in your homes. Now, what technologies are available, right, to ensure that as we develop homegrown solutions for power generation, what technologies are available that can help us I mean, CNG is a major thing. I'm coming back to your engineer. CNG is a major thing now, and the debate online is there are those who are saying it is safe, and there are those who are saying no, it is not safe. What are the technologies we can put in place to ensure that technologies like CNG, like solar panels, are safe and can help us supplement this grid technology that we're still relying on?
Okay, thank you very, very much. I think also at this point, it is important to state that there is no system in the world that is absolutely and entirely safe. Even life itself is so unsafe that we will all die one day, right? And there is nothing we could do to prevent that eventuality. But we could make our living as comfortable as possible. When we eat well, we exercise well, we sleep well, then we can also live well. So we have safety concerns and we have safety issues. So what do we need to do? There are safety in design. While designing systems, you design them in such a way that they can be safely operated from the design. Then there is safety in operation. Those who are going to operate the systems. A system may be inherently safe as per design, but the operator will manhandle it. Like we see in aircraft crash where they say it's pilot error. There is nothing wrong with the aircraft, top-notch technology, but human error can cause an incident. So we have to have what they call SOPs, standard operating procedures, that anybody who is using any piece of technological equipment, even like our television, our phone, they all come with some kind of booklet. They call operating manual. And if you operate these technologies as per design, as per prescription, then you can have them safe. There are extraneous factors like accidents, which are beyond your control. You could be driving on the road, the car is sound, the driver is good, but then it rains and the road becomes slippery. And then because of that environmental factor, which is outside your control, an unsafe condition may emerge. So for CNG, which the presidential CNG code initiative is driving, is clearly a safer, a cheaper and cleaner alternative to PMS, to diesel. You can check the numbers because it's chemistry. When you look at the requirements for CNG to burn, it's more stringent. I don't want to go into the technicalities. Yeah. Those of us that are chemists here know things like ignition point, things like flash point. There are certain threshold of temperatures you need before any substance can burn. So it is easier for liquid hydrocarbons to ignite, than gaseous hydrocarbons, especially CNG that is lighter than air. So if it leaks, it will dissipate. It will not accumulate easily. So you now have concentration of the material to warrant combustion. And then, of course, when you look at the environmental footprint, the emissions, the carbon emissions, when you burn the liquid fuels, you generate more carbon molecules because they are higher hydrocarbons in terms of their chemistry. As you move from gas to liquid, the carbon molecules become bigger. So it means when you burn higher carbon molecules, hydrocarbons, you generate more carbon footprint. So that's why CNG is less environmentally harmful. And then, of course, it is cheaper, we know, because it is associated gas. Dr. Busari Kamaru said that most of the gas we produce in Nigeria comes from oil production. So as a result, the economics of gas production has already been net back into the oil production. So you can sell it relatively cheaper. So, and that is the way to go. We have a lot of gas in Nigeria. We have a lot of gas reserves, more than 200 trillion cubic feet of gas, most of which we have not really explored. Essentially, Nigeria is a gas province with pockets of oil, despite all the oil that we are producing. So we're a gas country, and let us use this, our gas resource, especially in the light of energy transition, let us use it as our transition fuel so that wherever it gets to, and the world really, really have to shift away from fossil fuels, at least we have taken out from the ground substantial part of our God-given
resources,
resources. Thank you very much.
I agree. I completely agree. And in one, okay, yeah, doctor.
Sorry, I really want to add one or few words to what my brother here is saying. I think we need to be careful. As much as CNG is good, there was a time we were celebrating Dangote refinery here in Nigeria. We're all celebrating having one of the biggest refinery in Africa, 650,000 barrels capacity per day. It was well celebrated, but we keep on forgetting feedstock is really important. You can't have any sort of CNGs or petrol without having access to feedstock. Today, Dangote is struggling by not getting crude in-house within Nigeria to refine. And we need to differentiate between a proven reserve and what we have. We've been saying we have 200 trillion cubic feet of gas. Even if this gas is proven, the technology of gas processing in terms of investment is very huge. A smaller FLNG today, the cost of building a smaller FLNG is $4 to $5 billion US dollars. As a nation, today in Nigeria, we have 0 FLNG. We tend to move our gas to the Nigerian Energy Terminal, of which is owned by IOCs and the government. So in Europe, people still need gas. Are we sure if we transit back to the CNG kind of converting half of the vehicles we have today in Nigeria into CNG, where can we get the feedstock? And I think this is a question maybe you...
Thank you very much for that. It's a very interesting question, but it's a quick also answer. Today, the gas production in Nigeria, bulk of it goes for exports, as you know. But there's a significant also in-country consumption. And now only less than 1% of the gas that we presently consume in Nigeria will be required to be moved into the transportation sector. So the target is to convert 1 million vehicles out of about 13 million vehicles that we currently have in Nigeria in the next 4 years. And the total gas consumption will not even require any additional upstream investment. It's from the existing gas available that we take a tiny fraction, just about 1% of what we currently consume, which is about 5 BCF, that will be needed to be moved into the transportation sector. If we go higher, maybe we are beginning to see 5 million cars or more consuming CNG, then that may warrant additional upstream production of gas. But as we are today, based on what is currently being processed and being injected into the pipeline systems, we don't even need to produce additional molecules to be able to power the CNG transportation system. So we are doing very well. Where we need to produce more gas is when you are doing the big ticket project like LNG projects for exports. That requires huge volumes, billions of tons or millions of standard cubic feet per day. But if you look at this consumption of cars, that cylinder is just about 17 standard cubic meter of gas to fill up the gas tank of a car, which will run you like 150 to 200 kilometers. And remember, it is compressed gas, which is in the pipeline. So the quantity is actually small, and that is why the energy density is significant, because you are using smaller quantity of gas to generate a substantial higher energy component. So the mechanical advantage of using gas is also there, even for our engines, because many people do not know that the petrol and the diesel in their cars actually have to be converted to gas in their car engines. That is the role of the injector. In the olden days, they call it carburetor. So it vaporizes the gas, and then the gas now is the spark plug in the internal combustion engine will now generate that combustion that will now burn in your engine. The engine is like a bomb reactor, control bomb explosion actually, which moves the piston, and then the piston moves the gearing now moves the wheels, and you move. So even the petrol cars and the diesel cars actually have to be converted to gas in your engine before the engine can now convert that gas to mechanical energy. So now if you use gas directly, you have saved your engine that step of converting liquid fuels to gaseous form before it is activated and used. Thank you very much. Sorry for the mechanical and classroom. I think it's necessary. Thank you.
Check the mic, 1, 2. It was put off. A very good round of applause for our panelists and our erudite moderator. Okay. Just a moment. I need to welcome up one of our dignitaries here to help me present the plaques to our special guests. Okay. Mr. Abubakar Usman, are you still in the house? So Abubakar Usman is still in the house? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Hello, sir. Kindly do us the honor, yes, sir, of presenting the plaques of appreciation to our speakers today. So you take one, hand over to him, he will announce the name and present to the person. Okay. Please hand me that microphone.
Thank you, sir. This award of appreciation presented to Rear Admiral Abraham Adaji. Thank you so much.
Second plaque. Please give him the carton of the plaque, the pack of the plaque. Give it to the first person. That award, you are not supposed to remove it, actually. Thank you.
Award of appreciation presented to Engineer Michael Uluwagbemi.
Okay. Put it inside of the, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, the third one now.
Award of appreciation presented to Mr. Mino Taladima.
Okay, thank you very much. Moderator, we are still sorting out your plaque. We're going to present it. Oh, you had a plaque from yesterday. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for them as they get back to their seats. Um,